API testing is a type of software testing that involves making sure that an application programming interface behaves as expected. APIs allow different software systems to communicate with each other by defining a set of rules for requests and responses. Testing APIs ensures that they return the correct responses and handle various input scenarios, errors, and performance requirements. If you're new here, my name is the Test Lead, and I make content to help you on your software testing journey, so make sure you subscribe. Today's topic is automated API testing. We're going to walk through an example of API testing for Java, JavaScript, and Python. Just a little heads up, any GET call for an API you can actually access through a browser. We will be using this GET URL here for our examples. If you put it in your browser right now, you should see this. Make sure you select Pretty Print to make the response easier to read. If your API requires authentication or certificates, you may be blocked. But any public API GET call, just put it in your browser, you'll be able to access it and see a response. A setup that I personally like to use for my API testing is have 3 sections: an arrange where you're setting up any test data, action where you're calling your API, and finally assert where you're verifying that your API is acting as expected. For Python, we will use the request library. If not already installed, install request with pip install request. Now here is your test code. We're making a GET request to the API, passing in our URL. We're then asserting the status code is 200. Next, we're checking that the title in our response matches the like this or the autem. In this example, we could declare our URL as a variable, and that would be our arrange section. We then have our action. Response equals request.get our URL. Finally, our assert. Now for Java, we have 2 different ways of creating requests using REST Assured. We have the BDD, behavior-driven development way, or the more simpler way. Starting with BDD. Given sets the base URI to our URL and our base path to to-do/1 for the request. When defines the HTTP method to use, which is GET in this case. Then asserts the response should have a status code of 200. And like before, we're checking that the field title has this value. This BDD style syntax is one of the reasons REST Assured is popular for API testing in Java. If you're familiar with BDD, it has the same format, given, when, then. This is the same concept of our arrange, action, and assert. Given is our arrange, our setup information. When is our action, our API call. Then that's our assertion. We're checking the response. And here's our more simplified way of doing it in Java. You're making a GET request, asserting the status code is 200, and checking the title has this value. And last but not least, we have JavaScript. For JavaScript, you'll need Axios. If you don't have it, install it with this. And here is our test code. We're making a GET request, just like the previous ones. We're asserting or verifying the status code is 200, and then we're defining our title. And we're making sure the title equals our value. If it doesn't, we're going to throw an error saying title does not match. If all of that is successful, we're going to print test pass. If there's a problem along the way, we're going to say test failed and why it failed. So this was just an introduction to API testing. We still have our other methods: post, put, delete, and so on. But now you have a basic understanding of how API testing for automation actually works. If you enjoyed this video, like, share, and subscribe. And more importantly, don't forget this: learn something new today.